Alrighty. I'm going to bring you up in just a second, Miss Jackson. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Okay. I'm going to bring you up in just a second as soon as some folks start coming in. In just a second as soon as some folks start. Okay. Guess everybody's tardy for the party. Alrighty. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Let's Talk One-on-One with Uncle David. Tonight is the debut of this show. I am truly excited, nervous, scared. Hey, Lou Gary. But the show must go on. Before I introduce my guests, again, I'd like to thank you all. This is a combination of a lot of hard work and thinking and almost talking myself out of it, back and forth conversations with me. So I am, and without further ado, I would like to introduce my guest, Miss Tracy Baker Jackson. She is the CEO and Creative Director of TBJ Brand. They build brands. I'll let her tell you what she does. So without further ado, here she is.
Hi. Hi.
Hey, Ms. Jackson, thank you for coming through. I really, really appreciate you. This is, like I said, I am a nervous wreck. I have no idea what I'm doing, but I did manage to write down some stuff.
Okay.
So I think that's a start.
That's a start. Yes.
Yeah. Before I get going, why don't you introduce yourself and give them a little bit of words about you.
I'm Tracy Baker Jackson. I do marketing, branding with my company, TBJ Brand Management Group. We represent and we're all around the metropolitan area. I'm from DC, as well as I've worked with several celebrities, entertainers. One of the projects that I worked on was actually nominated for an Emmy here in Washington, D.C. I work with a young lady who has a product in Sally's right now. So I've done a lot of work. Branding and design is truly my passion. I love working with brands, to watch them grow from start to finish, is what I've always wanted to do. Building brands, that's what I've always wanted to do. I didn't know exactly how that was going to for me, but I'm glad that, you know, when you have a vision and you have passion, like the rest of it just kind of all works its way out and comes together. So my background, I'll start off by telling you that, is actually in art. I am a painter by trade, a studio artist. So, and my minor was marketing. Everyone has always been like so fascinated with the fact that and that's not something that I wanted to do when they come to my house, is why don't you sell your paintings? Why don't you sell your paintings? So I think that design was a way to set and just use it in a different way to still let my creativity flow, but work on using it to make money in a different way. Like for me right now, companies, watching them grow, that's everything for me. Like, I love that. My goal in life is to see, everywhere I go, I want to be
That makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense. You know, I saw a picture and I got a little jealous of you and Miss Patti LaBelle, because I remember as a teenager, I used, when she would come to town, I had to make sure I had a ticket. And so, I mean, it was like, okay, Patty's coming. And my favorite part was always when she kick off her shoes and she just go into it. And I'm like, oh, this is life. And then I saw I saw the picture and I'm like, wow. So what was that like?
So we were, sorry, I just messed my little hairs up. That was a project that was Emmy nominated, of course, no wonder. She is just amazing. Her house was amazing. Her energy is amazing. She is amazing. Like, I will say, so she loved my boots. So that was a nod on me and my fashion, my taste. She was like asking what size I wore. Thank God not thank God. I wish I wore a size, because I would have definitely given her the boots off my feet.
That's right.
Say that that I gave her a pair of boots. So unfortunately for me, my foot was smaller than hers. But like, she was just so sweet and so welcoming into her home. I had to do some rearranging for the set. She was very welcoming to the changes. I mean, she was just very pleasant. Like, you wouldn't think that someone with such a great such a big celebrity, I guess, would be so humble, and she was just so normal. She was just like your aunt. Like,
okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool. Well, I got to live that moment through you for a minute, because I thought that was really cool. I see that you wear many hats. You're a content creator, a brand manager, graphic designer, blah blah blah, and a mother. How does that work?
Well, so it kind of all it had to work. I was a graphic designer first for the Security and Exchange Commission. Someone came in that I had a falling out with. There was one woman there, and there was two women there. And she came in at a higher ranking than I was, because we were all contractors, but she actually came in and kind of, well, let me just say this. I never knew design. I never even knew anything about graphic design before I got there. Everything that I learned, I taught myself. So I taught myself how to become a graphic designer. I got the job that I totally wasn't qualified for. I had no problems telling them that I was not qualified for. They hired me for the job anyway. Came into the job. 6 months later, I was I was the head of the department and point of contact. So this was something that obviously was in my path to do my way there. So long story short, was there for a year. She came in, decided that she didn't like me there, and then I was out. So I was out, a single mother. I had just moved into a house, and we were making close to $100,000, and then went to nothing. So I then had to. No one would hire me because I made too much money. because, you know, for federal contractors, the salary is always escalated anyway. So coming back down to a normal salary, I was like, I might as well do this on my own. So that's kind of what I had to do. So that's how I ended up working for myself. So it took, like, for me, it took a lot of nights out, a lot of networking, which my kids really couldn't understand.
Of course not.
Right. My parents didn't understand because they were both, you know, they both were, you know, they're 9-to-5ers. Like, they don't understand. Well, now they're starting to understand. Like, they've laid off a whole lot as of late, but they really didn't. They weren't sold in on me being an entrepreneur. I mean, I had a lot of growing up and figuring out to do on my own too. It was a lot of kind of navigating my way to get to this point. So I'm just glad that I was able to afford it enough support in many different areas to whereas I was able to build my brand and to keep my brand going and to get it to this point to where it is today. And then to be able to help other women and men do the same thing.
Okay. Yeah, because you know, what I've learned is that if you have a passion, if you have a goal, if you have a dream, other people won't understand it. You will do things that will just drive them crazy, and they're sitting there trying to figure out, why are you doing this? What are you doing? You know, you're throwing your life away. No, I've been given this opportunity and I need to build on it. This is something that I want to do. And if you don't do it, what you'll end up doing is just sitting somewhere as you get older, wondering what would have happened if I had just done this, how would it have gone? So you might as well do it. And if it doesn't work, well, you're still old, but at least you don't have that regret.
For me, I think at the times when I would get scared and try to do like temp work, and when I would get into these jobs, I would just be sitting there because a lot of the people didn't know. A lot of the people that were there, I mean, that were permanent people in permanent positions, and in higher ranking positions, I couldn't even understand how they got there. Like, I just every time I got there, I couldn't wait until the contract was up. And then the second that they were like, "Oh, you know, what do you think about extending it?" And I literally would be like chomping at the bits to get out the door. Like, it was literally every time I got there, I knew that this is definitely going to be temporary. Like, you know, I was seldom on the fact that, I want to do this full time. Like, this is where I want to be. And, you know, and every time they'd be like, but I will say this, but towards the end, I think every time they knew that I no longer want to do it, because at that same moment, I feel like my business would start picking up. So then I'd be like, oh, I can't come in today, or, oh, I've got to run it, you know, and do this, or that, you know. So I definitely feel like it was the journey getting here was worth it.
Okay, but that's a good thing.
Yeah,
that is. Why? Okay, I guess what people would want to know, and I would want to know. Okay, I'm starting a business, and I want to know, why is it so important for me for my brand? Why do I need to build a brand instead of just going out and just saying, hey, here I am, I'm doing this, and this is what I want to do?
I mean, you can go out and say, hey, here. If you're someone that never does that, a lot of entrepreneurs do that at least 10 times. So I would say the key to it would be consistency and sticking to it. Like, you can't go out there and expect everyone to jump on. I mean, there are some times that you are lucky enough to whereas, you know, this is it, and people will believe in you and immediately jump on the bandwagon. Times also I've found that even though people are, you know, in some way or form behind you, they still like to watch you stumble and see how consistent you're going to be and how serious you are before everyone wants to, you know, buy in and really get behind what you're doing. Like, you know, you have to really be consistent with it. I would never disencourage someone to go after a business or start a business, because I had this conversation with my cousin, and she was going through something to where she was getting ready to switch jobs. And I remember talking to her, and as she was, you know, talking about, you know, her next moves. And I was like, well, you can draw unemployment during this time while you're looking for a job. Like, this is the time to be trying to figure it out. I was like, there's nothing that you want to do. Like, in my mind, I feel like everybody wants to do something, but in real life, there are people who don't want the pressures of entrepreneurship and, are just very content in going to work every day and having something stable and consistent, and so that they can retire and then maybe later on think about that. But, if you're someone that has this idea that you can't stop thinking about, you eat, sleep, drink, breathe with all of your essence and all of your being, then I would encourage you to start like researching things and, figuring out small ways that you can start on a small scale. You don't have to jump all out there 10 toes in, like right off the break. You can take your time and kind of navigate it through. Like, for one, you figure out who else is doing it, and don't figure out as a way to discourage you. Like, figure out a way, see how they're doing it, look at some things that they're doing that are similar to what you're doing. And then think about some things that, they're not doing that you'd want to do. Like, don't let someone else doing what you're doing discourage you from going after it. There's always going to be someone doing something else. Like, even if you think it's like the first idea you've ever had, it's not. Someone else has had that idea somewhere else. Like, it's very rare that you come up with an idea that has never in this world been thought of in some way, shape, or form. So,
that is true.
And then people always get caught up in the fact that someone is copying them, or, they got this from me or got that from me, when the reality is, just like I just said, it's very rare that a concept is brand new, a fresh idea that no one has ever thought of. Like, there are going to be people that copy you. Like, if you put yourself in the space of being someone of influence, that's part of influence, like influencing someone, So there are just some things that you really want to think about when you start to make that like your first steps in the business. And I'll just circle back because I kind of went. I would have one.
I do it all the time.
Yes. Take lots of notes on what you want to do. Make sure that you research it. Find someone or something that's close to what you're doing that you can kind of even start as a model of, as a way of what, to make sure that your idea is fresh and unique from what's already out there, because you don't want to be in a situation to where you're then caught fighting with someone over something where it's not worth your time starting. So I would say just start in the beginning stages. Don't go out and, invest lots of money into, I would say don't go out and invest lots of money into it unless you have the money and the people behind you to do it correctly. And then the other thing I'd say is don't run out there immediately and like jump on Fiverr and get a logo, because then you're going to be mad because someone else has a piece of that logo, because that's not a logo unique to you. You want to make sure that if this is something that you're going to invest in, that you invest properly in it. So find someone that can help you.
Okay. Yeah, because my mother used to always tell me, don't be afraid to ask for help and ask questions. The dumbest question is the one that you don't ask.
Right.
And so what I've learned is that, it's not about when, where. It is, our job is to show up. And the how it's going to get done is truly not up to us. As long as we show up, do the work, do our part, the people that we need, the resources that we need will come. But you have to understand that there's a possibility of failure, and you can't be afraid, because I know I almost talked myself out of doing this show. Up until maybe about 15 minutes before I went live, it's like, do you want to do this? Are you sure you want to do this? And, what will people say? Will people show up? And I'm like, you know what? I can't worry about them. I have to show up, because if I don't show up, they definitely won't show up. So,
well, you can't worry about people not showing up the first time you do something, because it's the first time you've done it. Like that's why there's a record button. So that way you can have the playback, and then you know what, the next time that you do it, you won't have that same fear. Like, and you have to, it's like the first time jumping on live. Like the first time you jump on live.
Mine was horrendous.
Right. But you have to build that trust and that consistency for people to jump on there with you. Like, sometimes it takes a minute to catch on, and sometimes, it takes less time. But what I will say this, even when you think no one is watching, people are watching.
Oh yeah.
So even
Oh,
if
yeah.
they go through, like you have the one that'll jump on and jump off. That's good that they jump on and jump off, because that 1 second they're on there, that adds to your numbers. So
Okay.
you know, don't worry about it at all. Like, it takes time to build a brand. As I said, I think I might have said it in a post today, or maybe it's for something or for another one of my clients, but we all know that Rome wasn't built in a day. So don't be disappointed if you don't have the outcome that you want the first time around. Like,
Now,
there's time. But
speaking
you
of
have to work on your brand first.
yes. But speaking of IG posts, January 19th, you posted something. I don't remember exactly what it was, but in that post was the question, and I wrote it down. What do you got cooking? And it was at that moment that I realized I need to get started on doing this show. And when I read that, I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm going to tell her what I have cooking. And then I'm going to ask her if she can be on my show. I mean, it was just this random thing. And I've heard Steve Harvey say, you have not because you ask not.
Absolutely.
So I'm like, hey, I'm going to ask. The only thing she can say is yes or no. If she says no, then I'll just keep going and find other people, which I'm going to have to find other people anyway, because if I'm going to do a show, then I can't just stop with one person. But that right there, and I want to thank you for that, because you inspired me without knowing that you inspired me, because I was really on the fence and trying to figure out what I was doing. And then when you said, what do you got cooking? I'm like, you know what? I better tell somebody something, or I'm just going to be sitting by the wayside.
No, you have to. Like, I post a lot about fear, because everyone is fearful. Like, there are things that we're all fearful. Every day someone is fighting something that you know nothing about. So the other day I will talk about the pictures that I posted. So I'm a very shy person by nature.
I noticed that you were stepping out of your comfort zone. You can see it in the picture.
Right. So, and one of my clients is a lot of my clients are female. So I do a lot for female empowerment. Like, so that's my whole thing, like being comfortable in your skin. Like, there's not one thing that you should do or that you can't do. Like, you know, that doesn't, when you're building your brand, you have to think about the entire brand. So that was the argument that I was having with my client. He was like, well, you just did these pictures that were totally different of your brand. I said, well, let me tell you what, I'm going to take everybody on a complete tour of my whole brand throughout this year, because I'm going to be doing pictures every month or every other month, or, you know, anytime I feel like changing it up so that people can truly get a true sense of who I am. My brand, for me, is about building other people's brands. My personal brand is about doing all these things that I personally want to do, and proving to not only myself but to my parents and everyone else that you can do everything that you want to do within, you know, within reason. It just so happens that everything that I want to do, I've now figured out to where it can all work together. So although I haven't fully laid out the pieces of the plan, but I've laid them out enough to know that it's all going to come back to me the way that I expect it to. And when, you know, and then when everyone else sees it, they'll be like, okay, now I see why she did that. And I'm totally fine with that. Like, and it was very funny because, even though you know, it wasn't like overt skin, and the shirt that I had on was so big that it covered more of my body than someone would be wearing, you know, shorts and a shirt. The fact that it was like the indication of what it was, people were inboxing me talking about how much I like the pictures, but at the same time, we're like, oh my God, I don't know if I should comment on it the whole thing has been very funny for me as well. So, I mean, mission accomplished for me. So it was like an eye opener for everyone else, and for me too. Like, you know, all the things that I want to do, you have to put out there to do it. Like, I'm a 46-year-old woman. I'm single. I'm a single mother. So I had to make sure that, I mean, I would never do anything that would be, one, harmful to my brand, two, harmful to my children, because they follow me, their friends follow me. And I wouldn't want anything to trickle back to them, myself, or my family. So as long as I have them and their support, everything else is like game on. Like, you know.
Yeah, because I noticed that the last picture you said, now that I have your attention, it's back to business. It's like, okay, now it's time to move on,
Right.
and we're going back into what we were doing, and
Right.
I like that. And like I said, you are. Where do you find your inspiration when you have those? Because we all have those moments where it's like, okay, I need to refuel, I need to refresh, I need to regenerate some energy.
I do have those moments. Well, like again, I'm an artist, so I have those moments more often than not. And people often get tired of me saying that, but I do have to remind them that I am an artist first. Like I don't paint every day, but the way that I move throughout my day, you know that I am truly someone of a creative nature. So I when it's truly time to get away, I like to get to the water. Miami, anywhere warm. That gives us the most tropical feel. Oh, somebody just popped up with a question.
Now, can you just excuse me, you all, for 1 second? I need to step away, but I'll be right back. Hey, Tracy, if you can just, answer that question for the young lady.
Yes, I would definitely say that helping the homeless is something that you can consider as a brand, a nonprofit. That would be a very good idea for a nonprofit. I would brainstorm on that more. And also, you can set up an appointment to speak with me, and we can talk about that, and I can give you some ideas on how to get that started. I don't know if there's anyone else that has questions. I can't even see if there's someone on, if there's anyone on here because I'm a guest. But I guess if you have questions, you can just ask them.
Oh, now,
Yeah.
I'm back now for real. Let's see, actually, there was a question on Facebook too.
Okay.
But he actually like, but he wants to know if you are married, and if so, how does your husband handle you being a driven woman? But that's not relevant right now because.
No, well, I was married, and that's why I'm no longer married.
Okay.
But not in a bad way. We were just two creative people, and the way that we navigated was very differently. I'm an Aries, so I'll say that I'm very like headstrong.
There you go.
Mm-hmm. So that can be a challenge for anyone.
Now, how has COVID affected how you do your business?
It has. It's made me more comfortable speaking over situations like this. Like it's definitely taking me out of the shell to whereas I'm very it's taught me to be a better speaker. I'm very nervous when it comes to speaking. Sorry about that. But I'm getting better because that's something that this is something that I want to do more of. So it's taught me to, one, pay more attention to the news because everything in the news is of some importance to another. I have one of my clients that I'm working with, one of my larger clients, actually, they have a product that can help kill envelope, and so here, this is where I'm still learning the exact way to say this, and I hope they're not watching because he'll probably kill me. And I should definitely know how to say this, but again, I'll be honest, and I'm very honest. This is something that I'm working on. I'm being more comfortable speaking. But anyway, their product can kill all envelope and all envelope viruses, as well as airborne viruses and bacteria in the air, as well as get rid of insects. So the fact that COVID has came and shut everything down is very big for us. and that company. So that has taught me to pay more attention to the things that are going on, when things will be open, when things are closing, for forecasting and things of that nature. A lot more research too. I've done a lot more research because of COVID, and I think that I've definitely learned more about my skill set and paid more attention to what other people were doing as well.
Just want to say hello to everybody on Facebook. Thank you all for coming through. I appreciate you all. Everyone inside the YouTube chat, thank you all as well. I appreciate each and every one of you. I like to think that, you know, with this COVID situation, that if you have not learned how to do something different to enhance your life or come up with a new revenue stream, then I think you've really wasted. You know, I get it in the beginning. We probably thought that, hey, okay, this is going to last a couple of weeks or a month maybe, and we'll be back to normal. But well, that was what, 8 months ago and or more. And so now, as a matter of fact, it'll be a year next month. So yeah, it's been a while. So if you have not done something to enhance, you know, your skill level or get a new revenue stream or acquired a new skill, then I think what you've done is wasted almost a whole year of your life that you could have made some different changes and done something different. So
that's one thing that I will definitely say. Like this would have definitely been the time for anyone who had any time or their life that they had thought about wanting to do something. This is the time, or you know, this was the time. But you still have time. It's never too late to get started. I want to say that it's never ever too late. But this is the time to get started. Like you want to grab on now. They had so many incentives for businesses that you could have, you know, people were getting on and really taking their businesses to the next level. Like a lot of people were affected and hurt by COVID, but a lot of businesses really came up and really built their brands and focused in on what they were doing and came out stronger.
Okay. Yeah, well, again, that's like I said, you know, people they're running around and they're upset and they're mad. And I get all that, but you need to sometimes put that energy somewhere else. And you can turn a negative into a positive. But if you're sitting around bemoaning the fact that, oh, I can't go anywhere, you can still go places. You just have to be smart about it, you know, and you can still learn something. Pick up a book. If you have access to the internet, I like to call YouTube University. You know, and like you said, it's never too late, because here I am at 58, soon to be 59, and I'm just starting to figure out, hey, you know what? I can do this. It's different. I had to step out of my comfort zone because sitting in front of a camera, you know, is not one of the things that I saw. If somebody had told me a few years ago that I would be doing this, I'd have said, you're crazy, because I'm just not, you know, I'd rather be behind the camera and talk, but to actually sit in front of the camera and, you know, put myself out there was something that it took a while for me to do. But once I started to do it, I became more comfortable. And I'm like, okay, you know what? People are going to talk about you no matter what. It matters not what you do, no matter what walk of life you're in. If you're walking around and you have on nice clothes and everything, they're going to say, oh, they're snobby. And then if you're walking around and your clothes aren't as nice, then they'll say you're trifling and you don't care. So if they're going to talk about you, then give them something to talk about. And make sure that it's in your, you know, step out of your comfort zone. Sometimes you have to step out of that wheelhouse, because if you become comfortable, then you become settled and you're like, okay. And those are the people that are afraid to, what Steve Harvey calls it, jump. Sometimes you just have to just, you know, on blind faith, just say, hey, okay, I'm going to do this no matter what. And
you have to. That's what I said. When you get to the point to whereas you know, it's been burning in you and you can't really think about, you know, anything else, and it just keeps nagging at you, that's the time to jump. Like you have to do something. It's not going to let you go. Like it's not going to let you go.
Yeah, I found that out because it'll keep finding a way to quit. Yeah, I've quit YouTube. I can't even count how many times I've quit YouTube. Every time I finish a live, I'm like, okay, I'm quit. I'm not doing it. I'm done. And it's just like, hey, come on, dude. What you doing? What you talking about? And I'm laying in the bed, and one night it just woke me up. And I'm like, Okay, I'm not
But
going to.
David, what is the premise of your show? Because we never even talked about that.
It's motivational, inspirational. That's positive energy.
Okay.
Understanding that the energy that you put out is what you get back. And so, in talking to my son, I got to this point. I was talking to my son one day, and I was in a rough little spot, and he's like, Dad, you need to exercise, and you also need to start listening and reading more positive stuff. Well, see, if you could see below the camera, you would see that I have a resting spot for my hands. So the exercise thing really hasn't worked out yet. But the positivity thing, I've always been a positive person.
Okay.
The forever one, the eternal optimist. I understand that there are, bad things that happen. There are negative people, but I don't focus on that. I understand that sometimes things go wrong, and that's okay. But you have to learn not to live there. Don't move in it. Don't unpack your bags in a negative situation, because once you become comfortable with that, then that's where you'll be, and you will never accomplish anything. You can't accomplish a positive action with negative thoughts. It don't work like that. So that's why I'm here. This is what I do. Every morning I send out the morning. Well, I was sending out a morning motivation. I need to get back to doing that.
Okay.
Because people and you never know who you inspire. My goal is to have a positive effect on at least one person a day. If I can get that one person each day, then they will hopefully pay it forward. And it's like that commercial, they tell two friends and they'll tell two friends, so on and so on. And so that's how I try to do things.
That's the consistency.
Yeah. that is, and I speak to everybody. I mean, I just do, because I feel like sometimes people may not feel like they're noticed, and they maybe walking around feeling invisible. And you say something to them, and they're like, okay, maybe life isn't so bad. And they may never say anything to me, and I may never know. But just knowing that I put that energy out there, because we are all connected with energy, so whatever I put out, I know that I get that back. And so I try to make sure that I put out positive energy.
Okay.
Well, thank you, Pam. Yeah, some of my followers here, they tend to agree. So, but again, I really appreciate you helping me with my first show.
No problem. I'm glad you asked me. I'm more than happy to be here to celebrate this with you.
Well, thank you. And that the flyer that you sent, I'm sitting there like, oh my goodness, I love it. But my wife's like, hey, 9 o'clock? Because I hadn't really looked at it. I'm like, no, it's 7. I said, it's 9 up there? And she's like, yeah. And I'm like, so I'm like, it got the crunch time, and I'm like, okay, I'll just use her idea and make one up and see how it turns out. And the idea about, because I'd heard it before, the idea about your color scheme. You have a color scheme. The majority of your flyers or thumbnails or whatever you send out should have that same continuity. And so that is something that I learned. So like my wife, she has a channel, Aunt Maddie TV. Everybody loves. We've branded ourselves as YouTube's favorite uncle and auntie.
Okay.
So yeah, so I'm like, okay, your colors are going to be red and white. She said, no, red, white, and black, because red and white is too Valentine-ish. So I'm like, okay, so yeah. So now I'm working on doing that. It's fun. I've learned how to, like our thumbnails, I go back and look at some of the old ones and some of the current ones. And I'm like, man, wait a minute. I'm really starting to get this. It opens up something in my head, and my brain is like, oh man, I didn't know that I had this kind of creativity in me. So yeah, that's why I say, if you haven't learned how to do something else during this time, you just wasted a whole lot of time.
Right. No, yeah, you've had, and there's still time. So don't feel like you've slack, because some people might something until today. So, you know, no matter whenever you get that great urge to start, no matter when it is. Like, don't let you think time is not on your side, because it's always time to do what you want to do in you if he wasn't going to get it out of you. So, and please contact me on Instagram. Like I said, I have appointments that you can set up to speak to me through Square, and they are hour or 30-minute appointments. Talk about your brand, and you can pick my brain for a bit, and then we can figure out what your next steps are.
Well, thank you. I thank you. I really, really appreciate that. You know, and that's why I tell people, I'm sorry, because I wasn't expecting that, because it's like, okay, here I am, I'm doing this. And, you know, this is proof that you don't know how you're going to do something, that you're supposed to just show up and just do the work. And so I showed up, and now here you're offering to help. And, you know, I appreciate it. I thank you. I really do. It's you know, it's good to have someone who's willing to help and show you and guide you, and that whatever information that I get, I try to share with others, because it does me no good to gain the information, learn it, and then just hold it to myself. You know, so whatever I can, I
have a little funny story about that. What my best friend lives in Jersey, and I was telling her she loves this flower, and one of my friends gave me and here I am, because if she was tuned on, she'd be like, just tell them what it is. So it's like the little flower. It looks like a peon, what it's called right now. But there's the seasoning that you can put in it. It's like a food seasoning called alum. And if you put the alum in the plant, it brings it back to life. So when I was telling her, I was like, don't tell anybody about this, because everyone is going to then be going to buy it, and everybody's going to have these flowers that look just as good as ours. And she was like, come on now, that's being selfish. You have to tell. If you have knowledge like that, what does it hurt you to tell someone?
Yeah. So, and yeah. What we have learned in this world, and especially in the YouTube world, that there are people that they have information, and they're holding on to it as if they share it, it's going to destroy their whole thing. I'm like, wait, what do you mean? Just, it's okay to,
because people don't want you to have the edge over them. Like it's the whole nature of survival of the fittest. Like they don't want to feel like you're gonna get in one up over them without, you know, thinking or remembering that what's for you will always be for you. Someone can't take from you what's always meant to be yours. Like, route to get there might be faster than yours, because that's the way it was intended to be. That doesn't mean that they're going to be greater than you because they got there faster. That doesn't mean they're going to have more money than you that they got there faster. It doesn't even mean that they're going to have more success. It just means that was their time to get there, and that time just happened to be before yours. When you get there, everything that you're going to get, you're still going to get once you get there. You might have had to pick up some extra things along the way for when you get, for, you know, that you might need for when you finally get to that place. Like, so that's something that you just have to hold on to and remember. Like, don't get discouraged, don't get frustrated, and never feel like you helping someone is going to hurt you in any way, because it won't. Like, even if that's the intent that they have, I'm going to do this, or I'm going to just, you know, I'm going to get all I can and take it from them. Like, it doesn't work like that. They can try, but it's just not going to work like that. And if it does, that was intended for them. And unfortunately, you were the route that they had to, but you still have to look at it the same way. Like, what's good for you will always be for you.
Okay. All right. Well, I hope you all are listening to this. We're getting some life lessons here. You know, and like I tell people, you're never too old to learn, and you're never too young to teach. Because my son, he taught me a lot in that maybe 30-minute conversation that we had. You know, it was at that point that the student became the teacher. And I'm like, you know what? Okay. You know, you have to have an open mind and say, okay, I can learn anything from anybody, and it's okay. You know, you put your pride in your pocket and say, all right, hey, I got this. I'm gonna ask because I don't know. And what I'm trying to learn is how to find the people to teach me what I don't know that I don't know. You already know what you don't know, but there's information out there that you don't know about that you need to know, but you don't know that you need it. So I'm always searching and reading and listening and trying to do things to enhance not only me, but that whatever it is that I learn, I try to share and teach others.
That's yep.
Yeah, that's the way life is supposed to be. But not everybody gets that. So it's okay. I've learned that if you don't get it, you don't get it. It's not, I can't worry about what you don't get or what you don't understand or how you
That's
perceive.
it's not your job. Like, it's not your job to make someone get it. You have to do all that you can do and then ask God to bless them and move on. Because you chasing your tail, trying to keep them from chasing their tail, that's not the answer either. That's a distraction for you. So yeah, you have to.
Alrighty, we've got about 15 more minutes. I'm gonna let you go, but once again, thank you so much. And if anybody is interested in following Miss Jackson, her information is in the description. If you want to know, I'll just send it to you. But let's see, I'll just give you a brief. She's on Instagram at, let's see, hold on, I got it all right here somewhere. Okay, Traci Baker Jackson, or at TBJ Brand. And there's a website, tbjbrandmanagementgroup.com. You can go over there and just go through it and look at some of her work. She does good work.
That's my old work now. I have to update my business page. Yeah.
Please and thank you.
I will. I've had several people get on me. I'm actually in the process of hiring someone to do that.
Okay. All righty. Well, once again, I thank you so much for taking time out to come and sitting here with me and listen to me ramble sometimes about stuff. But I have learned a lot, and I will take that information and pass it along. I hope that everyone that was listening has learned something. And I appreciate you for coming in and just doing this with me and helping me to celebrate this process and this one night. This is the beginning of something new for me, a new chapter. And so
I'm here anytime. Yes. I'm here anytime. I think this is going to be a great journey for you.
Thank you. Thank you. And thank you to everybody that's here. Don't y'all leave. I'm gonna, we're gonna sit and chit chat for a little while. But I appreciate you, Traci, and thank you so much.
Absolutely.
All right, and I'll see you around.
You have a great evening, David. Uncle David.
All right, thank you.
You're still uncle. You got me by a couple of years.
Okay.
Really big cousin, David. I can't really call you uncle.
All right. All right. Thank you so much again.
Good night.
Good night. Alrighty, y'all. That was Traci Baker Jackson. I appreciate you all for coming through. Everybody on Facebook. Now I know I probably missed a lot of things, but I'll get better. This is new, and I figured it's easier for me to do this. I wrestled with it for a while with having a guest, and I'm like, you know what, doing this by myself is, it's a little uncomfortable for me. And I had to admit that to myself. Thank you, Lily. Thank you so much. Hey, Marlon and Pam and Keto, G-Fam, Aunt Maddie. But I had to wrestle with that, because it's like, okay, I see people doing it and they're out there and they got their own thing and they're doing it and they're making it work with just them. But for me, it's kind of uncomfortable. And so once I put my pride in my pocket and say, okay, hey, figure out a way to do this and have someone come up with you. That way it becomes more of a dialogue, because doing it the other way was trying to get people to ask questions, and then, you're waiting for the questions to come, and, and you're wondering, maybe they don't have a question, but with this, you have someone giving out information, and maybe that will stimulate them to ask a question. So I thank you all. And like I said, I will get better. I have a show coming on next Tuesday. I will be here every Tuesday at 7. So it is a process, asking people, and that was the hardest part, just asking people to do it, not wanting to be rejected. You're like, okay, they probably say no, but you know what? I'm going to ask anyway, just to see what happens. And so, like with Miss Jackson, I just asked. I'm like, you know what? Only thing she can say is yes or no. If she says no, then keep it moving, because you're going to have to find people. So I just started asking, and I've gotten a really good, some really good feedback. People that are saying they will be here. Some, they have scheduled conflicts right now and they won't be able to come on right away, but they have said that they will be on. I have a guy that was a former police officer who is now turned into a movie maker. There's a radio icon, DC radio icon. She's going to be in here in not next week, but on the 23rd. I have a gentleman next week who is an entrepreneur, and he happens to be my cousin, but he has a story to tell, and I can't wait to have him share it with everyone. But I really appreciate you all coming out and making this a success for me. Without you all, I could not do this. That is for sure. So I truly appreciate you. And please, if you have any feedback, feel free to hit me up on IG. Just share it with me, or just, if you don't have IG, leave a comment. But I can accept constructive criticism. Well, even if it's not constructive, my skin is not so thin that I don't understand, that people have differences of opinions. And, sometimes we don't know how to say what we say. We just say it. And so, I understand it is most times not personal. Once you take the personal out of it, it's okay. But as I was telling Miss Jackson, today I almost talked myself out of this, because thank you, Bay and Bay, because I was scared. I was really scared. I'm nervous, and I'm still a little nervous now. But I knew that, oh, Pam, thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Thank you for that super duper super chat. But like I said, I almost talked myself out of it. I really did. I was just going to say, you know what, I'm going to wait and I'm going to do it later. But then I realized that I have to do this. The only way that I can see if it's going to work is to try it. And I'm constantly telling people, you can do this, you can do this. Don't be afraid. Yeah, well, that fear almost got me, but I thank you all for walking me through this and sticking with me, and allowing me the opportunity to share with you all. Hopefully, this will be a journey that leads to bigger and better things, because I do enjoy, talking. I do enjoy meeting and networking and sharing whatever information that I get. and hope that it helps someone. Because like I said, if I can help at least one, then I've sort of accomplished something. So again, I will be back next Tuesday. I'll be live again Thursday. I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm trying to come up with some new shows or just different ideas. So as it comes, I'll just try it. And, like I say, you throw something up against the wall and see if it sticks. If it doesn't work, oh, well, we move on to something else. But again, thank you all so much. I appreciate y'all. I'm going to get out of here a few minutes early, but I will see you all Thursday. And of course, Friday night, Unc's Juke Joint will be wide open. So please make sure y'all come through there Friday at 8. As a matter of fact, we will be broadcasting live from Florida. So that'll be something different. So I won't be constrained by this apartment with the people that's running around, and I don't feel like I'm disturbing them. Hopefully where we're staying, we can make a little bit more noise. So maybe I'll just be a little bit more off the hook. So I will see you all not tomorrow. Yeah, I'll probably see y'all tomorrow because Auntie goes live tomorrow at 7. So we'll see you all tomorrow. But until I see you all again, remember, be happy on purpose, and know that I believe in you too. Peace. Thank y'all. I love y'all dearly. Good night.